Hi, welcome to Soul Power Yoga. I'm Kayla, and today I'm going to lead you through a yin yoga class, which is deep stretches. So we're going to release some tension in the low back and stretch the major muscles in the legs and the hips and open up the heart and just feel good in our body today as a nice, slow, meditative way to start your day or end your day. So this is a great practice for either scenario. So a great way to ease into your day with some deep stretches or to relax and then go to sleep after. So let's hop onto the mat and get all the props, all the cozy things to help support you during this practice. And we're going to start seated with just a few deep breaths together. And before we do these deep breaths, I wanted to share that today I listened to a reflection from Sam Harris. I really liked it, and I wanted to share it with you to incorporate into this class and even more specifically just with these next 3 to 5 deep breaths that we will take together. And the idea is that you do whatever it is that you're doing, the mundane things that you normally have to do, like brushing your teeth, but today we're going to use it with breathing. He says to do it in a way that is impeccable. Imagine that you are being watched by people that you highly respect, and you want to do that action in such a way that you feel really proud of, and you're giving it your all, your full attention, your presence in that activity. So keeping that in mind, thank you, Sam Harris. Let's use that reflection as a tool to help guide us through this very intentional next few breaths that we're doing. So close your eyes, bring your hand to your heart, maybe both hands, and let's take 3 deep breaths together in and out of the nose with the idea in mind that you're doing it impeccably in front of those that you deeply respect and hold high regard for. Okay, let's do it. Okay, go ahead and close or open your eyes. And for me, I actually noticed a different quality in the way that I took those breaths. I was more present and more disciplined about bringing my attention into the breath and into the present moment. So, curious to know if that had any sort of impact on your 3 breaths just now. Might seem a little silly, but it's really not, because it's a very profound thing to be able to put that much emphasis on whatever it is that you are doing. It's actually a great way to be able to practice living in the present moment. We're going to transition now into some stretches in the legs. So extend your right leg out to the side and then bring your left foot onto the ground with your knee lifted up. I just did this one today and something about it I really enjoyed. So hopefully you do too. It allows us to stretch the inner thigh and also gets our body familiar with a lot of the standing poses that we do, where our feet are flexed and one leg is bent and the other one is straight. So keeping that in mind as you do this stretch. All of these poses that we do in yoga, you can basically practice them from the floor, laying down, against the wall, all of these different ways to practice these poses with our body in a different disposition to the floor. So a lot of times it can be very insightful to practice these poses that are standing poses that we normally think of as standing poses, but to practice them on the floor so that we can get a better idea of what it feels like, what it should feel like when you're in alignment. So lean over towards your right leg. Hopefully you've already been kind of doing that or just mirroring me anyway. And here, just notice that we're stretching the low back here, the side body, and the legs, in the back of the legs, the hamstrings. You can use your left hand and press your left knee away from the your chest, and then press your chest forward. So it's nice to have the left foot out a little bit further. You can experiment with the angle in your leg. And then let's bring our left hand down to the ground and then walk your hands forward in between your legs while maintaining the same shape in the legs. Maybe come down onto your elbows, your forearms, or use a bolster underneath your arms too for some support if it's feeling like too much tugging and maybe the low back or the upper back. Make sure that you have a nice long spine. A nice long spine. A nice one, not a mean one. Okay, walk the hands over to your left foot now, and then on the outside, and reach your right arm up and over to stretch on the outside of this leg. Maybe kind of readjust yourself. Okay, sit up, and then we'll switch sides. So extend your left leg and then bring your right knee up. Both feet are flexed, flat, and then lean over to the left leg this time. So in today's practice, what happens when we're doing these deep stretches is our brain will tend to want to wander off into outer space and into the past, into the future. And it's not really anything productive, although sometimes we think we're being productive, but we're really not. So what I want to offer today is a lot of prompts to contemplate And I don't exactly know what that's going to be right now, but as we're here together, I will see what shows up, what arrives, what wants to be spoken into this space, something for our brains to contemplate and hopefully provide time for introspection. Let's bring the hands out into the center, reach out in front of you. And as you're stretching today, I want you to practice just the art of body awareness. So I'm really not going to give you too much specific alignment cues, especially in a yin practice, because a lot of the benefit comes from just feeling relaxed and good in your body, and to not push yourself so much that anything is uncomfortable, and allowing yourself to just authentically express the movement that your body wants to create. Let's come on over to that right foot and side stretch. Take your hand behind, notice what that is like. Let's take a deep breath here together, in and out of the nose. And then we'll lift up, stretch out the legs, and come up onto your hands and knees. And I'm gonna get some extra support for underneath my hips, my hip flexors, so I recommend you do that too, as we're gonna get into a deep lunge. So hands and knees. Oh, actually, before we do that, I'd like to warm up our low back. So come down onto your belly, reach your hands out and lift up your chest. Just simply have your shoulders right over your elbows to breathe into and soften all the muscles in the low back. And when you are oriented in this shape here, and you want to stretch a little bit deeper, then go ahead and straighten out the arms and lift up a little bit higher, deepening the arch in the low back. Okay, lower your chest down, press yourself up, and now we'll get into that lizard pose, or that deep low lunge. So lift your right leg up, bend the knee, and then step it forward. See how I have this pillow underneath my quad here? This is such a good support. So if you can find something to place right underneath the top of your leg, I highly recommend it while you're in this stretch. And then even a block or another pillow up at the top for your hands, or for just a little bit of height as your body deepens into the stretch. So important thing here, I will say, since we're doing a low lunge right now, is to keep your knee over your ankle. So that's the only thing, instead of letting the knee open up, because that would be lizard and more of an inner thigh stretch. And right now we're working on keeping the hips squared off and getting into the hip flexor stretch. So something that has come to we're going to be here for a little bit, by the way. So get comfortable, get the props you need. Another thing that has been on my mind because I've been studying, actually for several years now, the idea of evolution. And I'm talking about the evolution of a person, of the ego, and of the soul. So I've been learning about spiral dynamics from Carol Graves and Dom Beck and Ken Wilber's work on it, and even some people who seem to be able to explain these models of evolution in a very easeful, down-to-earth kind of way, like Leo from selfactualize.org. Highly recommend his videos on his interpretation of spiral dynamics. So that's what's been on my mind lately. And one of the main ways, if not the only way, I'm not quite sure yet because I'm a student myself. One of the main ways that we grow and evolve as humans is by noticing the hypocrisy in our own way of living. So this could look like I believe in something and I have a high value of a way of living, and yet my actions in a particular area would suggest the opposite or something different. And this can be kind of tricky to actually find in ourselves. So it's really helpful to have friends and family and people in your life that you can trust to help you see these things that you might not be able to see in yourself if you're interested in personal growth, which I assume that you are if you are here watching my yoga videos, because that is what my channel is all about: personal growth and transformation. So let's go ahead and come out of this slowly by just simply hinging backwards. Send your hips to your heels and straighten out the front right leg. If you can see that. Okay, and then place your foot down towards the ground so that you can touch the ground with your whole foot. And fold over, frame your right leg. Now we're stretching in this half splits to stretch behind the right leg. So as I'm speaking, make sure that you're breathing and contemplating, because I know I'm giving you a lot to think about, to listen to. But while you're doing that, practice remaining in your body and in your breath as we stretch. So ask yourself, what is it that I believe in or even want to stand for, who I want to become, and what am I doing in my day-to-day life that contradicts who I want to become? And you'll find that that very thing that contradicts who you want to become is your pathway to overcoming the challenges that you have to be the person that you want to become. So let's go ahead and come out of this pose now. Bring your right leg back, extend it behind you, lift the leg up, lift the chest, maybe come onto the fingertips. And then bring the knee down and tuck and round for cat pose. Okay, let's do the other side. So bring the left leg up, bend it, step it forward, and we're starting with the low lunge, the deep low lunge. So I have a story of this kind of noticing of contradictions, a personal story. When I was in college, I was very passionate. I am a passionate person, but I was especially passionate in a particular way that was not very healthy or beneficial for myself or those around me. And it was a huge breakthrough for me, because once I noticed this contradiction within myself, just with the awareness alone, I was able to transcend that way of being. I pulled myself out of this hole that I was stuck in. And the belief that I had and the action that the actions that I had, they really did not match up, and it took a while for me to realize. And so back when I was in college, when I was very passionate, I was passionate about world peace and about justice for all. And I was very passionate about taking care of the planet and all beings, animals, plants. So I was quite mad. I was quite mad. I mean, I'm using that as like I was crazy about saving the planet. So before I get more into this story, let's go ahead and transition and straighten out the front leg. Stretch in this half splits on the other side. So I was quite passionate about all of these things. I even gave a speech in my speech class, in my public speaking class, about the trash in the ocean, the trash islands in the oceans, and how it was affecting the ecosystem and animals, and talked about pollution. And when I was speaking on this subject, I was crying. So I cried. That's how passionate I was. I was very serious about making changes. And it was so intense that I refused to buy anything that I had to throw away. So, and when I did see trash outside, because I knew that trash is going to eventually get into the ocean, it would drive me crazy, and I would be so emotionally charged all the time when I saw trash. So I would pick up trash all the time and put it in my trunk of my car. And I remember my dad came to visit me, and I hadn't cleaned the trash out. So he saw that I had a trunk full of trash, and I had to explain myself. Anyway, let's come out of this pose now, and then I'll resume. Bring the leg back, extend it back behind you. Oh, yes. Okay, and then round the back. Take the knees out wide and send your hips to your heels. Let's come into child's pose. Child's pose. Reach the arms out in front. Rest your forehead down. This is a really nice option to use a big pillow for your forehead, because you know what? It gets into your upper back more. You get to stretch your shoulders more. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the nose. Okay, let's come up now and then lay onto our backs. Lay onto the back, and you can grab a pillow and do this restorative type of bridge pose by placing the pillow underneath your hips. And what I like to do here is, and again it's up to you, is to come into reclined butterfly. So bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees fall out to the sides. Then take the arms up over your head. Elevate the pelvis. And here we're allowing the blood to come into the brain. Okay, you can close your eyes. I'll continue with my story. So I had all the trash in my car. I was completely outraged all the time. I would be so angry with people when I would see them just throwing their coffee cups in the trash after just getting it through a drive-through, and just seeing the absent-mindedness of the whole process. And so this led me to really hate a lot of people. And I was just so angry all the time and emotional. And so one day I couldn't handle it anymore. I was so overwhelmed by all the terrible things that were going on in the world that I just broke, and something just opened up in my brain or my heart. I had this revelation that I wanted world peace, and yet I was so distraught and so not peaceful myself, and disliked most people just because they weren't solving the problems, and I felt like people were a part of the problem. So I had this reality check that, wow, I am a walking contradiction. That is not okay. And as soon as I saw myself for what I really was, and that I was a hypocrite, I had a whole change of mindset and way of being. And I started to practice more. I started to practice inner peace and personal development, understanding myself, rather than looking at the world like there was this big problem that needed to be fixed. I started to realize I had to be peaceful if I wanted peace in the world. I needed to see that. And if I really want change, I have to be the change I wish to see in the world. So that was a big moment for me, and that's why I really stand by that idea of looking inward, working on your personal growth, because that is what changes the world. And that is why I am here, and that is why you're here. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to my stories today. You can stay here or take the pillow out from underneath you and rest into Shavasana, final rest. Close the eyes, take a hand to the belly and a hand over your heart. Deep breath in through the nose together. And out through the mouth, sigh it out. Thank you for being here, not only for yourself, but for everyone, for showing up to work on your own personal development, dedicating your life to growth, transformation, evolution, to change the parts within you that need to be healed, or integrated is a better way to say it. The parts of you that you want to integrate so that you can be the change you want to see in the world and have a positive impact on those around you and the world at large. Namaste.